Good evening. Jubilation in Birmingham today as the city strode past Liverpool and into the next round of bidding to host the 2022 Commonwealth Games. If the second city is successful, the Games are likely to benefit the whole region, with the Black Country and Warwickshire hosting events as well. Our sports team are here for us tonight with all the analysis you need. And first of all, Dan Pallett's got live reaction for us from the Alexander Stadium.
Nick, this is where the athletics would be hosted at the Commonwealth Games of 2022. It's club night tonight for the Birchfield Harriers, and what better inspiration for these young athletes than the prospect of this stadium hosting the Commonwealth Games. Shortly we'll speak to the man in charge of Birmingham's bid, and we'll get some reaction from a young athlete. But we must remind people that Birmingham hasn't got the bid yet. There are more hurdles to overcome, but this is a great day. It's a big step forward. The prospect of Birmingham hosting the Commonwealth Games is a good deal closer.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. So it's a tantalising prize that Birmingham's competing for. 1.5 billion people around the world watch the Games in Glasgow. Top names in sport have said today it's the right time and Birmingham's the right place to play host to 70 nations and over 5,000 athletes in 2022. Before we head back to Dan at the Alexander Stadium, here's our sports editor, Nick Clitheroe.
There were high fives all around in Birmingham this morning as the city took a huge step towards a massive sporting moment. 3 months after launching their campaign, the bid team could celebrate beating Liverpool to the finishing line.
It's brilliant news for Birmingham and the West Midlands. We've never had a multi-sport competition like this in Birmingham and the West Midlands, so this genuinely is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us.
There are still hurdles to overcome. The government has to approve this recommendation, and then it will be a straight fight against Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, with a final decision expected in December. A big part of Birmingham's success is that it already has existing facilities like the Alexander Stadium in place. You know, the capacity here will go up to 45,000 for the Games. This genuinely is a bid for the whole region. The Commonwealth Baton was in Leamington last month. They will host the Bowls tournament. Already having venues in place was critical to Birmingham. As well as the athletics at the Alexander Stadium, there'll be basketball on an open-air court in Victoria Square, rugby sevens at Villa Park, and a host of other locations in the city. Netball is being staged at the Ricoh Arena in Coventry, and a brand new 50-metre swimming pool and diving pool will be built in Sandwell.
When you're only having to build one structure for a multi-purpose games, you're in a wonderful, wonderful starting position. And then outside of the sport as well, the infrastructure and the plans in terms of transport and accommodation that will be brought forward if we get the bid, it's just complete.
Wolverhampton's Christian Thomas won Commonwealth Gymnastics gold in Glasgow. He's excited by the bid's promise of a sporting legacy for the region.
If they can see firsthand some top gymnastics, and that's only going to inspire them, it's going to bring more people into the clubs, that's going to get younger people into the sport, and hopefully that builds the profile of the sport then, and you know, a bigger selection of gymnasts to choose from in the future is only a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
The price tag is high, somewhere between £500 and £680 million. 75% of that will come from the Treasury, but Birmingham City Council has to find the rest. So what do the local taxpayers think?
It would be brilliant. It'd bring more money in, wouldn't it? And, you know, and everything else. It'd be lovely.
I think it's going to be really good. Like, we need it in the city, you know, to bring in more people.
Hopefully be able to show that this town is a bit more than what most people think.
The Games is predicted to increase visitor numbers to the city by 10% and bring in new post-Brexit business. But it's the passion of a sporting city which is at the heart of this bid. Nick Clitheroe, BBC Midlands Today, Birmingham.
So what are the city's chances of actually landing the Games? What exactly happens next? And indeed, why did Birmingham get the nod? Well, earlier I spoke to the Chief Executive of Commonwealth Games England, Paul Blanchard.
Because Birmingham put together a bid that was exciting, innovative, inspirational, and addressed all the issues that they were asked to do so in the criteria. So, I mean, an absolutely spectacularly good bid they put together.
So what happens now?
Well, what happens now is that the bid will be scrutinised further, the budget will be finalised, and the government will assess that budget to decide whether it represents value for money. If that is the case and the bid is able to move forward, we, alongside the government, will present that bid to the Commonwealth Games Federation by the end of the month, and then we're in an international competition.
But we're still some way from the finishing line then?
Yeah, still some way, but actually this process will probably be wrapped up inside 6 months. Normally these bidding processes take about 2 years, so it just goes to show how well Birmingham have done and the amount of work that they've done to get us to this position.
Yeah, I mean, Kuala Lumpur appears to be the main rival. How strong is their claim, do you think?
It's difficult to assess, but we're taking them very, very seriously. I mean, we think we've got great bids, so we're hopeful. But we know the international competition is strong. You've mentioned Kuala Lumpur, potentially an Australian bid as well. So certainly no complacency at this end.
So I've got to put you on the spot then. What are Birmingham's chances of finally getting the Commonwealth Games?
Oh, I think we're pretty hopeful. You know, we are extremely optimistic, but that optimism, you know, needs to be tempered because there is still a good way to go yet.
Paul Blanchard there. Right, let's get back to the stadium. That'll be the focal point of the Games if they eventually come to Birmingham. And our reporter, Dan Pallett. Dan.
Nick, it's certainly been a good news day for the city of Birmingham. Let's speak to the man in charge of the bid, Councillor Ian Ward. Good news today for you. How's your team feeling and how confident, why do you think you beat Liverpool?
Well, we're absolutely delighted, as you probably imagine, to emerge successful at this stage of the process and to have beaten Liverpool. There'll be no doubt a celebration this evening, but tomorrow we'll be back at work with the government and Commonwealth Games England to see the bid through to its conclusion. I think we've been successful at this stage, one, because we've had support from right across the region, both the public and the private sector. Secondly, we've got 95% of our venues already constructed, so we're low risk. And then, of course, the people of this city. You know, we have parts of our population can trace their heritage back to every one of the Commonwealth countries. So where better to host the Games than here in Birmingham, and we will give the Commonwealth a very warm welcome, I'm sure.
Most people I've spoken to are really enthusiastic, but it has to be said on our social media reaction for BBC Midlands Today, there have been some negative talk saying, number one, how can you afford this? And number two, well, aren't there other things to sort out, notably the bin crisis?
Well, they're absolutely right. We must sort out the industrial dispute on the bins, and we're focused on ensuring that we do that. But as I've said, we have had support from across the entire Midlands region in this, and financial support in ensuring that we can deliver the Games. So we've got an absolute red line around the City Council's revenue budget. We know we've got to protect that to deliver services, but we'll be bringing funding in from across the region to deliver a really successful Games.
How confident are you now that you can get that government backing and then ultimately beat Kuala Lumpur and host these Games in 2022?
Well, we'll be working closely now with the government through the rest of this month in order to get a bid that we can submit at the end of September to the Commonwealth Games Federation. But I'm confident we've got an excellent proposition, an excellent bid, and I believe we could host a Commonwealth Games that the whole of the Commonwealth will be really proud of.
Thank you, Councillor Ian Ward. So they're confident. We'll also get some reaction shortly from a young athlete because after all, it's going to impact them the most.
Dan, thank you. In fact, Dan's been frantically busy for us today. He'll be back later with news of the Shrews, Shrewsbury Town that is, and their cracking start to the football season. Now in